Hey guys, welcome to episode 25 of Operation PlayStation, powered by Audio Technica. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Mr. Paul James. What is going on, Padge?
There's not much left in the tank. There's energy drink in this thing, I'm sure. Oh, there better be.
What do you got in there? Just water?
No, it's water. It's water. But I'm cooked. I need more.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to record last night, but some family issues got in the way at that one. But I'm kind of glad we held off, because there's been a lot of news over the last 24 hours that we're going to be getting into. I'll put it this way: it's going to be a very Cyberpunk heavy episode, obviously. So
yeah, as every podcast and website is at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. Guys, if you didn't know, this is Operation PlayStation-Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer, including this current generation game. I don't know. I don't even know anymore, but we're going to come up with a new intro. If you like,
time's a flat circle. Who cares?
If you like what you hear, exactly, well, especially for this year, make sure that you subscribe to us over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. You can tell that Paul's asleep because he's late on that one. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a follow. Well, sorry, a comment, you should say. Surely helps us out. Padge, housekeeping.
A few things from me. So a little bit of written stuff, which has been good in the last fortnight. I knocked out a review for Godfall. Thanks to 5-star for that. Myself and Matt Hewson worked on, so off the back of the Game Awards, which we're going to talk about in some detail shortly. Him and I basically did one of our Versus articles. So basically the two of us back and forth over everything that was announced. So that was a 2-part article, given there was a shit ton of stuff that was announced, big and small. Yeah. So we covered all of that. And we've started at Player 2 a series. So we're not going to do, at least in the immediate future, we're not going to do a review of Cyberpunk 2077. We're working on a series of different features, and I got the ball rolling with the stories of Night City, and specifically my first piece being The Long Wait. And it was basically all about the journey up till this point, the delays, the concerns about the performance, all those sorts of things that turned out to be bang on the money when the game launched, or the reviews launched, and then the game launched a couple of days later, and highlighted how messy that shit is. Then on the podcast side, there is, of course, Dev Diary, the current episode still in circulation. May not be by the time this goes live, but Meredith Hall is the current guest, but I suppose I'm so used to saying in a couple of days from now, but today, when the podcast goes live, Dan Hines, who's worked on Wildfire, recently available on PlayStation. Local talent, he's worked at PC Power Play, worked at GameSpot, and then has now jumped into the game development ring. He is the newest guest on the show, the final episode of the show for the year.
Nice.
So tune into that.
Very, very cool. For dashgamer.com, it's we've got a lot of stuff, and this is pretty much it for the year, basically. After the podcast goes live, I go on 2 weeks break, thank God. But oh, well, actually, I lied. Next week, we do have the Dash Awards that will be coming out, so that'll be really cool. But other than that, this is it for the year. So the Dash Gamer Christmas Gamer Guide is live right now on the website. So is an anime guide as well, if you guys want to check that out. If you're looking for a gift for your loved ones. Shut up, Paul. A Twin Mirror review, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco, is live. Dragon Quest 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age, a definitive edition, thanks to Bandai Namco, review is now live. My Hero,
I'm just going to jump in on that one. I need to have a chat to the world about Australia, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, about that game. And EB Games while we're at it. They've been taking pre-orders for that game since it was announced. Like the S version was announced. I was one such person who slapped down a pre-order on said game. A week after the game came out, still didn't have my copy from my EB Games. So I quizzed my EB Games, and a decision was made, and presumably not passed on to the local managers, clearly not the customers. That I guess the rationale hasn't been made clear. My guess is maybe a lack of pre-orders, but we're just not going to send them out to Australia. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so that's a
So
weird
I'm fucking
one.
filthy about that.
Yeah, so there's a weird one about that because when I post reviews, I actually search for links to local retailers and provide them on our reviews. Could not find any at JB. Could not find any at EB, and I was like, okay, they must be posting these, the sales basically when it gets closer to the release date. Nope, nothing. I was stumped. So there you go.
Yeah, so it seems like it is. I'm
Digital.
assuming a Square Enix decision that is then being forwarded down through Bandai Namco locally.
Local.
That the PS5 version just isn't a thing. You can apparently pick it up on Switch. I look at the EB site right now, and you can get a pre-owned version of it there.
Yeah,
but
well, to be fair, the definitive edition, 11S was originally a Switch exclusive. That hence the S really stood for Switch. So that's basically part and part of why it's not.
Yeah, you can bring it elsewhere, but it's the Xbox and PS5. Xbox is exclusively digital. This is meant to be at retail, and it's fucking not.
Continuing through housekeeping, My Hero Academia Heroes Rising anime review, thanks to the kind folk over at Madman Australia. Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid saga continues, thanks to the kind folk over at Turn Left. Godfall review, thanks to the kind folk over at Gearbox. The Pathless, thanks to 5-Star Games. And, of course, Operation PlayStation Cross for the players. Miles Morales, Spider-Man review cast, spoiler cast, so spoilers for anybody who hasn't played it. But big thanks to Ryan and Max for basically crossing over with myself and Paul and doing a couple of little specials to round up the on Spider-Man Miles Morales. Paul, let's not waste any more time. It is the final episode of the year. Might as well mention it before we jump in to housekeeping. So this being our season finale, we will return on January 13th, 2021. So make sure you keep your eyes and ears peeled out for those. They're going to be fantastic. Patch, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into the news. All right, Patch, the first bit of news comes by way of Shannon over at Press Start, who says the Cyberpunk 2077 devs have apologized for underwhelming console performance, detailed future updates, and offered refunds. Yeah, all right. This is you can tell where this
a
is
shit show is what it is.
Oh, you can tell where this show, our shit show, is about to go. So anyway, CD Projekt Red has just provided a statement on those that are unhappy with how Cyberpunk 2077 runs on PS4 and Xbox One. In a statement provided on Twitter, CD Projekt Red has apologized for not showing the game on last-gen consoles before it released and allowing gamers to be more informed about their purchase. They've also said that they will release another update in the next 7 days, one more in January and another in February. These patches will fix the most prominent problems on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and won't make the game look like they do on next gen or PC, but will offer a closer experience. Lastly, the statement says that they will be helping consumers who are unhappy get refunds. They've advised customers to use the refund system on the PlayStation Network or Xbox Live. For those that purchase physically, they've advised customers to get a refund at the store that the game was purchased, or alternatively contact helpmerefund@cdprojektred.com. Interestingly enough, this will only be open until December 21st, 2020. They've also advised that they will be continuing to work on the PC version, providing regular updates and fixes improving the game. Interestingly, the next-gen patch is not mentioned, and we still don't know when it will come. And of course, there's the big yellow wall with the black text, a statement that was released over the last couple of days from...
To be fair, I was a bit edgy looking at that because I just thought, okay, it's just Rick Astley again. All right.
No, it was real.
It was legit.
Yeah, it was real.
I saw the big blue tick. I'm like, finally, something legit from these guys.
Yeah, and... like that anxiety set in, and it was like, well, you can't delay the game; it's already out there. So this is obviously an apology that I think had been forced by investors at this point. The reception surrounding Cyberpunk at the moment obviously varies on depending on which console or system or platform you're playing it on. There has been the reception has been quite astounding to see. Like it's been phenomenally bad. I'll put it that way. For you as well, Padge, you experienced it on PlayStation 4 Pro. I want to ask you, before we do the full review later, I want to ask you your initial thoughts while experiencing it on PS4 Pro, because obviously PS4 base, that IGN review that just came out the other day, 4 out of 10, that says a lot.
Yeah. If we focus purely on my time with the PS4 Pro, which was in honestly like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But in that 15 minutes, I booted the game up. Now, the reason, firstly, I was playing on PS4 because as we well know, I have a PS5. The reason I was playing on a PS4 is that I hadn't gone to pick up my retail copy at that point. I wasn't able to get there on the day. My big collector's edition, which also, little plug, there's an unboxing of that on the Player 2 YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I hadn't been able to do that. You had a code that was sent to you. You put it on a
business account.
Like a business account, which I had access to as well. And we kind of rigged the whole PlayStation primary, secondary business so that the both of us could play at the same time and I could actually get started.
Yep.
What I discovered in the first minute, actually, you know how like every game, and Cyberpunk's no exception, you boot up said game, and before you get to the new game screen or continue or whatever, there tends to be a cutscene.
Yeah.
Well, said cutscene was choppy and framey and all sorts. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And that continued beyond hitting new game. Now, I just realized at that point, like, well, I'm not playing this version. I guess that's it. Down to, like, I gave it about 10 more minutes just to see if it wasn't, I don't know, my brand new PS4 Pro, where there was any issues with it. Like, realized, no, okay, this is a serious performance issue on the PS4. Done. And that was it. Down tools for the night. Came back at it the following day with the PS5, and we'll talk more about that later. But
sure.
It's horrendous the way the game launched on the PS4, and I don't know if those issues still persist. Like maybe they've cleaned up enough with the couple patches they've done so far. But straight out the gate, like if you pop the game in your PlayStation or presumably Xbox as well, and don't have the updates, which is this great. This is going to be a great story years and years from now because they might clean the game up. It might be sensational, but anyone who has a disc-based version of that game can pop it in and reject those updates, and then there's this archive of just how shit the game was at launch in perpetuity.
Yeah, pretty much. Full transparency, so I was contacted by the distributor, which is Bandai Namco in Australia, to review the title on PC. I basically gave them, I provided all the information that they needed to get
Signed your life away.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a lot of personal details that I had to kind of provide CD Projekt Red, and even then I was kind of anxious about handing these details over, but I did it anyway.
It's fair enough, because they might go all John Wick on you. I'll find you and I will kill you.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly, because obviously they don't want people leaking us, and they want to know the exact position,
Keanu Reeves as well,
where you live and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't get my hands on it. It was weird. And then, obviously, being provided a review code for the... You're right there?
Yeah, just knocked the mic stand, my bad.
Being provided a console version of Cyberpunk, I kind of sat there and was a little underwhelmed by what was put in front of me, especially playing it... Like, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's better playing it on PS5. Okay, fine, that's fair enough. That's probably because you've installed it on an SSD. I should have installed this, and I probably will before I get a review out. Obviously, I haven't got a review out yet. That won't come until the new year because this is obviously a large-scale game, and I want to, complete it before I actually get a review out. But I should probably look into transferring the data onto a portable hard drive and seeing how it plays off that as well. Because obviously, I think it would compare to how it would run on a PS4 Pro, which is what this release is intentionally designed for. It's a PlayStation 4 release, not a PlayStation 5 release. Until next year, when they roll out those patches or even release a physical PlayStation 5 release, this is a PlayStation 4 release. Yeah, and I'm reviewing it. Yeah, go on.
As a PS4 game, the only perk we have right now, if we have a PS5, is got a little bit more overhead. Yeah. So you don't get the frame rate issues.
Right.
Every other bug and those sort of things, they are bugs, and it doesn't matter whether you're playing on a PS4 or a PS5, you're going to get the same issue.
But even selling this as a PlayStation 4 title is difficult, because then afterwards, there's a misinterpretation there, especially for owners who like PS4 owners who actually own base level PlayStations. They don't own a Pro. And you know,
can't even imagine.
Dude, I just ran IGN Destin Legary's review that was just up on the screen. It was chugging. It went below 15 frames per second. That's disgusting. Disgusting. There's no.
And he gave it a 4, correct?
Is that 4
right?
out of 10.
On the IGN scale.
There is no transparency being made from CD Projekt Red. It's dishonesty in the market. Yeah. And there's a problem there. So let's continue on with some more news about Cyberpunk from Shannon over at Press Start, who says EB Games and JB Hi-Fi will provide refunds on Cyberpunk 2077, even the collector's edition. There you go, Padge, you can get some money back. In an unprecedented... I know you want
I've already tossed out all the packaging.
In an unprecedented move, EB Games has today advised stores that they are to accept all Cyberpunk 2077 returns and provide full refunds. This is above and beyond their standard 7-day policy return that they will provide on all games. This comes after CD Projekt Red apologized for the last-gen console performance. Now, there's a caveat to this as well. If you purchased Cyberpunk 2077 from EB Games, you have until also January 10th to return it at EB Games. They're having their Christmas extension on return.
Yeah,
so.
They always have that special at the end of the year.
Yeah, which is good. Staff were told that, quote, refunds can be processed for any customer who would like to return Cyberpunk 2077, providing all components are returned. There goes your box. Returns are valid for all editions, including the Collector's Edition. Normally, Collector's Editions or games that are DLC, such as Day 1 editions, cannot be returned, but EB Games have advised stores to accept copies of the game regardless of DLC being used. If you use Afterpay to pay for your copy, this makes the process a little more difficult, so you'll need to speak to your EB Games if this is the case. JB Hi-Fi has also advised staff that they are to accept any requested returns on Cyberpunk 2077 if the customer is claiming it as faulty, although it's unclear if this also includes the collector's editions. Normally, this is up to the staff discretion at JB. I do not... JB Hi-Fi do not normally accept returns on games. Okay, so I'll actually argue that point with Shannon. There is, it is up to every store. It's up to there's discretion, store discretion. And personally, when I was running the games department at my JB, I would allow for up to 10 days return, much like EB Games as well, on titles as well. But in this case, I can see that there's probably been a memo put out there to return pretty much any and all copies, and they're just gonna do a big return back to the distributor where they basically put it into a recycle bin. So
okay.
So this is interesting. This is actually kind of groundbreaking because what this is, and even he highlights it here, Fallout 76. This is Fallout 76 levels of disappointment within the consumer base. What do you think?
It's a weird one because, I mean, and look, there's lots of people out there that get a bit cynical about reviewers and those sort of things, and I think by and large they're wrong for that. But those who have reviewed it, it's sitting currently on an 89 on Metacritic, so it has slid a little bit as more reviews have come in, but that is an exceptionally high score still. Mm-hmm. There's not many games this year that have released and gotten a score like that. Again, there's some criticism that suggests that some maybe have been a little bit more generous on the bugs than perhaps they should have been.
Yeah. But
what it tells us, though, is that the core of the game is still brilliant. It's these outer layers that are flawed and causing all the issues.
Yeah.
So the difference between that and, say, Fallout 76 is that for many years, Fallout 76 was just sure, it had bugs and stuff too. It was also a shit game.
Yeah.
Like, it was just poorly designed. It wasn't executed badly. Then you had bugs and those sorts of things on top.
Yeah.
Same deal applies for No Man's Sky all these years ago. It wasn't what the game was promised to be.
Correct.
No Man's Sky is this great redemption arc. It just won awards at the Game Awards. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic title these days from all reports. I haven't gone back to it.
Neither have I.
But both Fallout and No Man's Sky were shit games when they first launched. Yep. The difference is here that Cyberpunk is a good game and it's wrapped in this buggy, ugly layers. And it does make the situation a little bit more difficult on the consumer side because you're like, I know it's good.
Yeah.
Or I believe it to be good, but am I ready and willing to wait? Or do I need my money now?
On paper...
Can I buy it later cheaper?
On paper, this title is fantastic, right? The premise and, everything else that they've kind of put into this world, great. It's innovative. It's a fresh take on what CD Projekt Red have established themselves as the masters of, the open terrain, the RPG, everything that they've kind of enveloped into, The Witcher, but into now a postmodern, a dystopian cyberpunk world. It's just now we're in this place within gaming where there's an expectancy, and especially on next-gen hardware. I just reviewed Godfall yesterday, and I said this within the review, which was one of the features it has, which is load times, and I was like, I thought we were past that. So it's almost like...
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, and it's almost like with this is kind of like that excuse in a way. It's like, okay, a lot of these bugs and everything that we got here, I thought they would have polished this, especially given the fact that they've been developing this game for 9 years.
Yeah.
And 9 years of development is a long time to release a title as buggy as this. This is it's inexcusable. There's a lot of outlets out there right now that are giving it a slight pass because, this is just the PlayStation 4 version. I'm sure it'll come out. We don't know that. So far, the harshest review I've seen has been from Destin over at IGN, who's given it a 4. But there's still that issue, that underlying issue, that there was no transparency from CD Projekt Red about this release on console. When the PC reviews went out, like, obviously we were in the know, Paul. So, like, we knew that PC, the reviews that went out first were only for PC. And we were under the assumption that the console version was going to be shit. The console version shit. So, it just all this dishonesty is starting to pile on CD Projekt Red, and their reputation is starting to diminish.
It's taking a big hit.
Yeah.
Again, like they're a studio that could basically do no wrong after The Witcher 3. I mean, The Witcher 3 is the best game of the generation,
right?
As far as I'm concerned, and I am a little bit more anxious now about. I mean, they've already indicated there will be another Witcher game somewhere down the line, and I'm just little bit more uneasy about the whole thing because they've kind of screwed the pooch here.
Well, they've definitely put a layer of uncertainty over the next Witcher, that's for sure, because a lot of people are going to be like, I won't play it if it's like this. I'll wait. And that's going to be a big problem. But the thing is, even what you just said, that state of mind that a lot of gamers are in with, The Witcher, and they can do no wrong, the best game of all time, fine, it deserves praise. But the studio itself, for what they have delivered here with Cyberpunk, should be ashamed. They should be ashamed.
No. Like, just because you put out one brilliant game doesn't mean that you, as far as I'm concerned, you don't get a pass if the next one's shithouse.
Yeah,
we've seen plenty of scenarios where game 1 in a franchise is excellent, game 2 is a dog's breakfast, and these games get slammed for it, and as they should.
Yeah. Let's continue on with more Cyberpunk news. This one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square in his original story, who says Sony doesn't really have a PlayStation Store refund policy, and this is a problem too, because within Australia, obviously, the ACCC just went after PlayStation about this. They turned around and told them
super recently.
No, you have to refund. So he goes on, Sony doesn't really have a PlayStation Store refund policy, which has been a sore point for fans for years. However, it has historically been known to reimburse players in exceptional circumstances, and it seems like Cyberpunk 2077's performance woes hit that criteria, or fit that criteria, I should say. While not everyone is having luck with the customer support, Reddit reports that there are plenty, and Reddit reports that plenty are, and one PlayStation representative even mentioned that they'd received lots of calls regarding this particular issue. You'll no doubt already have been aware of shortcomings at CD Projekt Red's ambitious role-playing game with the title running as low as 720p on a standard PlayStation 4 and dipping all the way down to 15 frames per second. Worse still, some aspects, some aspects of the title are outright broken with regular crashing, interface issues, and bug quests. In an update to the story, there were reports on Reddit this weekend of fans receiving refunds of Cyberpunk 2077. While not everyone was having luck with customer support, many players were. Today, CD Projekt Red issued a statement with the following sentence: "For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system on PSN or Xbox respectively." Okay, so
shit's fucked.
Oh, look, it's like,
but it's actually not like a Cyberpunk issue here. This is definitely an issue for PlayStation and Xbox in terms of how their service works.
Oh yeah.
CD Projekt have thrown them under the bus. They've actually done so in multiple things. So in the same statement they put out to investors, they also spoke about the cert process, and how basically both Xbox and PlayStation pointed out, like, as a part of the process, they point out the bugs and the flaws and all those sorts of things, and basically gave them a pass because they trusted them to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that is it's a fairly it's one of those unwritten things.
Yeah.
That one kind of unspoken officially things.
It's an unspoken
this
rule,
happens.
yeah.
This happens all the time.
Yeah.
But and obviously we see games that, again, I've mentioned a few that come out and they're a buggy pile of shit and should never have gotten through in the first place.
No. But
no developer or publisher has ever tossed Sony or Microsoft under the bus for this.
Yeah.
That's not gonna, like, between the fact that they're saying, just hit up PlayStation, Xbox, they'll refund you, no worries.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that their services don't actually allow for that, they're not winning much goodwill with PlayStation and Xbox here.
Not at all.
But that said, the fault is with PlayStation and Xbox. They should have been more rigorous and more bullish about the cert process. They should have a system in place for refunds and those sorts of things.
I agree.
Again, ACCC locally is an example, but there's similar stories popping up around the world. They need to get this sorted. So CD Projekt have also caused a fair few problems.
They've thrown PlayStation under the bus big time,
and Xbox.
Look,
but yeah,
I'd say Xbox, but more I'd say yes, Xbox, but Xbox are fine in terms. Like I found Xbox to be quite good in terms of their refunds digitally. I've had a few experiences where I've had to go through Xbox and request a refund for some games, and they've been more than happy to do so. That's Australia. That's local. Only recent has PlayStation been forced. Their hand has been forced to actually introduce a refund service through their digital storefront. And the reason being, the ACCC have basically laid the smackdown on them and told them, hey, you're about to get sued if you don't. So they had to do it.
And this could be that moment.
Pretty much, yeah.
If they haven't got it sorted, this could be that moment locally.
Yeah. The next one is a quick one that comes from the Open Critic Twitter account. This basically is what they've placed. They've placed an alert on their Cyberpunk 2077 page on the aggregate score and everything else. So basically, this is what their page reads. Please note, this game has significant disparities in performance, player experience, and review scores between the PC and next-gen consoles, Xbox One and PS4 versions. The Open Critic team and several critics suspect that the developer CD Projekt Red intentionally sought to hide the true state of the game on Xbox One and PS4, with requirements such as only allowing pre-rendered game footage in reviews and not issuing review copies for PS4 and Xbox One versions. This notice will be taken down in February 2021.
In sync with the patches when they are supposedly going to be rolling out. But,
right, but everything that they state there is true. They did not hand out
money.
Yeah, they did not hand out console versions on purpose.
Yeah. And, we spoke about Destin Legari's review for IGN before, just in case I don't think we raised it before, for some extra context, because Metacritic, their scores are starting to roll in.
Yep.
And obviously they differentiate between the platforms OpenCritic compiles.
Yep.
Metacritic for PS4 is a 52 for Cyberpunk right now.
Ooh.
And 55 on Xbox, so
Jesus.
shit ass no matter which platform you pick it up. On.
Well,
now that is a very small sample size. There are 7 PS4 reviews, but IGN is one of them. So
yeah, well, it's going to be funny how these two next articles contrast with each other. But this one comes by way of a Matt Kim over at IGN, who says Cyberpunk 2077 pre-order sales have already covered entire development and marketing costs. He says Cyberpunk 2077 has been out for less than a week, but developer CD Projekt Red says it has already recouped its total development costs and marketing, and promotional costs. In a short report to investors, the management board of CD Projekt says that the quote estimated licensing royalties receivable by the company in association with pre-order sales of Cyberpunk 2077 across all of its digital distribution channels have exceeded the sum, in quote, of both the game's development cost and marketing expense. This means that Cyberpunk 2077 is already profitable thanks to the pre-order sales across PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, S, 1S, X, all that, Stadia, and PC. Jesus Christ, Xbox. The profits are also bolstered by estimated licensing royalties the company expects to be owed. Cyberpunk 2077 was announced way back in 2012, May 2012, and pre-production began after the development of The Witcher 3. All right, that's cool and all. That's good to see that they've made up, they've recouped funds put into the game and basically have made more money than what they initially thought, but it's going to be weird to see how many copies actually get refunded and how much money gets pulled away from them due to this.
No more than 10%.
You don't think?
So 800,000 tops.
Mm.
I mean, we've spoken about this sort of thing in a whole host of other contexts, and the whole concept of vote with your wallet and all that sort of thing.
Mm.
Gamers are the least resilient, Sorry, I'm just being brutal. I'm painting with a very broad brush here. No resilience, no balls, no anything. Like there's so much talk and bullshit that comes out of gaming forums, social media, that people crack the shits, and then they never do anything about it. It's why EA keeps getting away with what they get away with.
Oh yeah.
Blah 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 blah. People aren't going to return this game. Now their reasons might vary. When I say people, the majority aren't going to return this game, and CD Projekt will still be profitable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
800,000 people return it, they'll still be profitable.
Yeah.
Because firstly, most of those people will come back and buy it eventually once the next gen versions or it's patched up or whatever, because they can't help themselves, they'll come back. There's also a lot of people, like say myself, who, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the main segment, but I'm just going to shelve the game. Like I'm just going to come back to it.
Look, that's fine.
I'm not going to return it. I'm keen on it. I know
you
that
want the
a good
statue.
game there.
That's why. But no.
But like I was super keen on the game. I'm not going to spend $400 and something on a game because I'm just nah.
But do you not feel like gamers out there will take advantage of the EB Games loophole that you can return it by January 10th, play the game, see that it's shit, and then return it?
Oh, you'll get some that'll take advantage like that, but they're the same people that would have done that at this time of the year anyway.
So to contrast the article that we just read, this one comes from Matt Purslow at IGN, who says CD Projekt Red stock drops 29% around Cyberpunk 2077 launch. This is big. Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red has seen its stock price fall in the days around the game's launch, with a steep decline of 29%. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, shares are currently priced at PLN Polish Zloty 313.9, down from PLN 443 on December 4th. So that's basically the Polish dollar.
Their dollar.
Yeah. The decline is likely due to the release and press coverage revealing that Cyberpunk 2077 suffers from a plethora of bugs and glitches, and has notably poor performance on previous generation consoles. Such issues have spread widely via social media. Share prices appear to have dropped since the embargo on reviews was lifted. A few days after the release of the game did little to counterbalance the fall, with shares on December 10th slipping from the Polish dollar 390.6 to 362. That's a 7.3% decrease. So you're close. You're close.
Yeah.
So this is weird. Because we've noted in the past with CD Projekt Red how they were relying on a Metacritic of 90 to get a bonus for their employees to get a bonus.
They've scrapped that.
They've scrapped that now and are going to be paying their employees bonuses. Is it now concerning that they're going to be shelling out cash to every single developer? Great, they're paying developers for crunch, and that is widely
It's
appreciated.
It's Polish law anyway. Like
Right.
if you have to do it. So
there
is that.
There's Polish law that dictates, that they should be paid handsomely, and they have been. Then there's the bonus that comes into play.
Yeah, the bonus is the optional bit.
Well, that's the caveat. Now, that's no longer optional. They're going to be paying every single employee a bonus for this title, regardless. Yes. Is there a concern?
In terms of what the financial state of the company, because they've got to
pay
pay
exactly. Well, they're going to pay it.
No,
and they're going to
like
get
everything,
refunds.
The stocks will bounce back.
Yeah,
the stock will bounce back. And I mean, again, this is 8 million copies in day one. Again, let's suppose even 20% given away. So taken back 1.6 million. That's still a massive profit.
Yeah.
And we're kidding ourselves if we don't think that they'll eventually sell that 1.6 million copies back anyway. It's going to happen at some point. Maybe not to the same people, but it's going to happen. You know, we're going to get the PS5 and the Xbox Series X dedicated versions, and you better believe there's going to be people that bought it on their PS4 that will buy it again on their PS5 or whatever the case. Like, they will be rolling in dough as a result of this. Sure, the stocks have taken a dive. It is important to note, and in terms of some of these percentages, and I've quickly punched into Google their stock prices and had a bit of a look. So they're currently sitting at 301.8. So that's even further down on when the article, not by much, but when the article was actually published. They talk about all these percentages and the massive drop off from 400s. It was 400s in the couple days before the launch. What do you expect? People are buying stocks because if they expect it if it explodes, they're rolling in money.
Yeah.
To set the counter back even another week from there, their stock was 360.
You brought up
so it's exploded and then it's crashed. So it's probably only down, like it's actually down a significantly less portion than what the article would make it seem, because they've focused on a vacuum of a week as opposed to even a larger period of time. If I wind back 6 months, the stock has kind of fluctuated in this 300s, mid to high 300s
given the
range
fact
for a
that
while.
COVID affects that as well.
Yeah. Year to date, all right, like in March, admittedly that's when COVID really crashed everything.
Yeah.
216.
Yeah.
I've just watched their stock climb of another little bit as this is updating live as I'm watching. Like, it's on the pulse. And then it's just dipped. Oh god, I could be doing this for hours.
All right, Patch.
Holy shit!
You brought up something
like
interesting.
A year ago.
Yeah.
285. So their stocks are actually up still on where they were 12 months ago, and they hadn't released a game. Like, it's.
All right.
Ebbs. No, it's one of those swings and roundabouts things.
No, I understand.
It's going to bounce back.
I understand. Now you brought up something interesting that I want to kind of rebut with, which is you said that gamers will buy, the upgrade basically. Do you think CD Projekt Red will now dare to charge gamers for an upgrade?
No. They've already told us, like, well before the launch, they told us that we will, like, if you bought it on PS4, you would get
a free upgrade.
The free upgrade, yeah. Similar to what we've seen with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, or Immortals.
But the thing is that they've also noted that with the upgrade there will be additional content. Do you think that they're going to be charging players for that?
Possibly, but. No,
I think it's
probably not anymore.
No, that's the thing. Like, no,
there was a whole bunch of free DLC they were going to be offering anyway.
Yeah.
It's a matter of whether what that is if it's a Hearts of Stone, Blood of Wine style expansion or just his horse armor.
Yeah.
To go with an incredibly deep old cut. Like if they're giving away more cosmetic and kind of fun and game stuff, that's free. Big expansion. That'll cost you, just like what we saw in the case of The Witcher. But yeah, they'll be a very profitable company to come. They're not going to be hurting as a result of this.
We'll see about that.
Which is a shame, actually. It's a shame. They need to be hurting a little bit, and I think their egos. I think but messages get sent through the hip pocket, and that's why everyone talks about the vote with your wallet sort of thing. But
their reputation's hurting, Paul, and that's all that matters right now. Like, yeah, fine, sure. Could they be hurting in their back pocket? Yes. Should they be? Kinda, because gamers should be turning around and saying, this is trash. Why was it released like this? So
the question mark I have for that, and sorry, I know that we're ballooning out with this particular topic time-wise.
We've still got more.
But I mean, we speak about reputation, and I referenced EA before. What happens every single time? Everyone seems to hate on EA.
Yes, but they buy their games. I realize that excuse, but at the same time, gamers got to be smart about this. Gamers got to be smart. That's a stupid.
There's your issue.
Yeah,
they're not.
So they're not. The next,
you good folk listening, of course, you're brilliant.
No, of course. The next one comes from Sammy Parker. That's a good suck up, Paul. Comes from Sammy Parker over Push Square. PS5 brute force fixes Cyberpunk 2077's PS4 technical problems. Narrator says they didn't. But let's read the article anyway. Cyberpunk 2077 is a PlayStation 4 game, but it's been configured to take advantage of the PlayStation 5's hardware through backwards compatibility. As such, the release shares many similarities with the PS4 Pro version, but as we've already reported, it runs at double the frame rate. According to Digital Foundry, this is largely locked at 60 frames per second, although there are minor fluctuations when using vehicles in Night City. Unfortunately, it runs at the same resolution as the PlayStation 4 Pro, which means you're looking at 1188p most of the time. The resolution can dip below that, it never goes higher, but the scaler is not as aggressive as on Sony's last-gen console. It actually runs marginally better at 60 frames per second than the Xbox Series X, which is at 1080p at a little choppier. Although Microsoft's machine does have a feather in its cap. The game also includes a quality mode on the Xbox Series X, which allows you to cap the frame rate at an almost locked 30 frames per second and enjoy it at a higher resolution. According to Digital Foundry pixel counts, this scales between 728p and 1512p, which is much closer to the 4K target we all expected these days. Crucially, it also boosts the population density and includes some extra visual flourishes like ambient occlusion. Okay, so the reason I've brought this up, Padge is like, displays resolution.
I'm just like, what the fuck are these random resolutions?
Okay, so I got my hands on the PC version, and I played the PC version on my TV, and it looks marvelous. It's gorgeous in 4K. It plays real well on hardware that can actually run it at that point. I had a conversation with Max from For the Players, Max Cooper from For the Players. His version of the title, his copy of the title has crashed on him more than a handful of times now from simply standing there. Ryan Betson, our co-host on the Dash Gamer podcast and host of For the Players, made a statement this week on their PlayStation podcast For the Players that said that he's basically the population density within Night City is almost nothing. And he's right.
Yeah, it's pretty
It
empty.
is nothing. There is nothing. It's dead. It's nothing compared to what they originally showed.
It's not a city.
No.
It's not a city.
It's not at all. Not at all. Have you seen that meme on Twitter going around the
one
Jurassic
with
Park one?
the Jurassic Park one. I love that. Anytime someone uses that, it just becomes my favorite video on YouTube.
Yeah, but it does show a contrast and a comparison between PC and console right now, not only in graphical presentation, but once again, the population density. It's a desolate area. It's completely isolated from civilization, it feels like. It's dystopian. It's dystopian, Paul. Thoughts?
It's trashed in that respect. Like, I don't like walking through a barren city like that. The only times there's actually something going on is if there's some, I guess they'd probably be scripted, shootouts between the cops and a few goons, and you jump in and do whatever, and then you run around and there's nothing going on.
What's a joke?
You might see the occasional car wander by. You might see one or two people, but it's just it's empty. It's lifeless.
It's barren.
It's dull. It's boring.
Yeah,
it's such a shame.
So let's talk about the Metacritic. This one comes by way of Robert Ramsey over at Push Square, who says, Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4 has been slaughtered by Metacritic users. Well, we all saw this one coming, didn't we? Cyberpunk 2077 is not a good game on PS4 at launch, as stated in our Cyberpunk 2077 PS4 review, plagued by all kinds of bugs and technical problems to the point where you could argue that it's borderline broken on PS4 and PS4 Pro. It even has a serious crashing issue on PS5 via backwards compatibility, which the latest updates have Cyberpunk 2077 patch 1.04 apparently hasn't fixed. As you'd expect, unhappy players are starting to voice their disappointment on Metacritic. At the time of writing this, PS4 version of Cyberpunk 2077 has over 1,300 user reviews and sits at a dismal, overwhelming dislike user score of 1.9. It's a bloodbath, and the negative ratings aren't showing any signs of stopping. Oh boy,
it's trending up. It's on a 3 now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, And this is me.
It's trending up. It's on positive signs.
I'm a data guy, mate.
I'm a numbers guy, but yeah.
Look, I think it's fair to say that even a 3 is not necessarily accurate. Betson has this conversation all the time about, you know, like what a 5 is and that sort of thing. And I do agree with him and what that kind of is now. There's the buggy mess and all that sort of stuff. And they're the other factors and layers you have to consider after that point.
Yeah.
To give the game a 0 is ridiculous. And I cite one user review here, and this is why I know that I never take user reviews seriously. Person says poor textures, poor spelt P-O-U-R, bugs everywhere, crashes, graphics, G-R-A-F-I-C-S, sometimes worse ROST than a PS2. Like, okay, you get my point here. This invalid is putting a review up there and shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's
Look,
no
it's Metacritic, though.
discourse.
Metacritic user
There's
reviews
no
have always
discourse.
been garbage, dude. So I can understand that.
So I just don't. I don't care about user reviews. I think what we're currently looking at in terms of the critic review, that's more like what it should be. In the mid 50s, slightly above. Like that's what we're talking about. That's what this experience is right now.
Yeah. So going along the lines of Betson's review scale, I do the same as well. I believe that anything below a 5 is a broken title, and that's why, like, when Destin Legary chucked out a 4, I wasn't surprised. I had a discussion with my former co-host of Dash Culture, Buddy Watson, literally a night before Destin's review went up. What I said to him was, the game, like he said to me, the game at most minimum required of working is to get a 5, basically, to work. Basically, Betson's review scale.
The Betson rule. Hashtag the Betson rule.
I said so far, if I were to rate it considerably, it's a 7 on PS5 hardware. All right, but on PlayStation 4, it's awful. And he goes, then awful doesn't equal a 7. I told him, I said to consider it, but if I'm being harsh, it's a 4. And he said to me, if it's a 4, give it a 4. Then I told him, I said, I've got to finish that first. But then he sent me the very next day, Destin Legary's review, 4 out of 10. And I said, wow, I called it. Because the game, the title, regardless of what score it has right now, a 4 is an appropriate score for it sitting on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Because it's broken. It is not a great game to play on a base PlayStation 4. Even PlayStation 4 Pro. Pro users are having issues. And if Pro users are having issues as well with the title, that is a marginal problem.
No, that's a big problem because, again, this thing's being pitched as a PS4 title.
Yeah.
And even on the high-end PS4. So you're not in our case where we're PS5 using it on PS5 and benefiting from that overhead.
Yeah.
We're talking about a console this thing is meant to be designed for,
yep.
And it's falling apart on that.
Yeah, it's a massive problem.
That's the top end SKU of that model. Like, no good.
Yeah. The last Cyberpunk bit of news for the night, until we dive into our first impressions, comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says Cyberpunk 2077 hovers around 720p on PS4 and drops as low as 15 frames. Now, this is not news. We've already covered this.
Yeah, we've discussed this.
But it's still disgusting that it does this on base PS4s. The fact that it does this on base PS4s really attests to the fact that this game should have not been put out even on PC. Even on PC, right now at least. The game is having its issues even for PC users. I got screenshots from a couple of friends who were playing it on PC and showed one of the characters. I don't want to say the name because I might spoil things, but basically he was sitting in like a dental chair or whatever it was, and he wasn't actually sitting in the chair. His body
wasn't a chair.
Yeah, he was hovering.
This is the one Shannon had posted on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one. So it's disgusting. These are kind of things here that I don't understand how QA doesn't sit there and go, no, this game can't go on shelves yet.
No, but again, the QA thing there is also part of the whole cert. Like, it's part of that whole same cert conversation. Like, they've trust and go, okay, here's the laundry list of stuff, and that's what QA's job is to do. Is here's the list of things. Go fix them. They've gone to cert following that.
Yep.
Cert still said you need to fix these things. I'm sure some of the things were fixed up, but you need to fix these things, and they trusted them, and they misplaced their trust.
Well, that's definitely not going to happen next time, that's for sure.
Like what you're hearing today? Be sure to follow all Dash Gamer podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify by simply typing dashgamer.com into the search bar of your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to check out our gaming, anime, and pop culture related news on dashgamer.com. Now back to the show.
All right, Patch, let's move off Cyberpunk for now, and then we'll come back to it later
Hey.
on. The next bit of news comes by way of Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. This one is just basically a roundup of The Last of Us Awards 2020, all the winners.
Yeah.
The Jeff Keighley's Game Awards 2020, all the winners. From The Last of Us Part 2 to Final Fantasy VII Remake to Ghost of Tsushima, here are all the winners, each and every category of the Game Awards 2020. So, Game of the Year, Last of Us Part 2. Best Game Direction, Last of Us Part 2. Best Narrative, Last of Us Part 2. Best Art Direction, Ghost of Tsushima. Best Score and Music, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Best Audio Design, Last of Us Part 2. Best Performance, Laura Bailey, Abby, Last of Us Part 2. Games of Impact, Tell Me Why. Best Ongoing Game, No Man's Sky. Best Indie Game.
These things can be redeemed. No Man's Sky.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Best Indie Game, Hades. Best Debut Game, Phasmophobia. Best Mobile Game, Among Us. Best Community Support, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Best VR AR Game, Half-Life Alyx. That confuses me because I've heard nothing but bad things about it. Innovation in accessibility.
About Half-Life?
Yeah. Is it good?
It's like one of the... I mean, no, I haven't played it. I don't have a PC VR, but it's also one of the highest review games of the year.
Really? Oh, okay. I must be
even more so than The Last of Us.
I must be thinking of something else then. Innovation in accessibility, The Last of Us Part 2. Best Action Game, Hades. Best Action Adventure Game, The Last of Us Part 2. That doesn't make any sense. Best RPG, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Best Fighting Game, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. Best Family Game, Animal Crossing, New Horizons. If you ask me, New Horizons got robbed. Best Sim Strategy.
Get fucked.
Best Sim Strategy Game. Microsoft Flight Simulator, Best Sports Racing Game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, most definitely deserved. Best Multiplayer Game, Among Us, Best Content Creator of the Year, Valkyrie. Best Esports Athlete, Hio Showmaker Sue. Best Esports Coach, Danny Zonik Sorensen. People really like esports, don't they? Best Esports Events, League of Legends World Championship 2020. Best Esports Game, League of Legends. Best Esports Host, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either. Turns out that that nickname or whatever is Shocks.
Okay, Shocks. There you go, goes to Shocks. Best Esports Team, G2 Esports. And that's it. That is all the winners of the Game Awards 2020. Okay, Paul, let's talk. Is The Last of Us Part 2 your Game of the Year?
Yes.
Okay, how come?
As much as I mean, if we look at it on a mechanical and technical standpoint, it stands head and shoulders above everything else. It's just, it's a technical masterpiece.
It's a marvel,
yeah. So the main point of contention, as it has been all year, is that story. And where I've kind of landed on it is that there are things that they've done that I don't wholeheartedly agree with. And I don't mean the bullshit that people have been getting up in arms about on the internet with, about
certain person,
sexuality or any of those sorts of things. Fuck all that. When it comes to some of their big story moments, and the one that you just kind of alluded to, which I'll refrain from spoiling, but it's the big moment that got a lot of people up in arms. It got me to crack the shits and put the controller down and not come back to it the next day.
Yeah.
As much as there's things that they've done that I don't agree with, and even the way they kind of closed the game out, or some of the things that led towards the end there, things that we discussed in the spoiler cast, so please go back and check those out.
Yes, please.
Despite all of that, it is the best story of the year. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to go, I would have done things. You can sit back and say, I would have done things differently. But because of the particular path they wanted to go down, they wanted to infuriate you, and not in the I've got rant and rave on the internet, but like they wanted you mad. They wanted you to connect with the characters through that rage.
Yeah.
And they succeeded in doing so.
I agree.
And like, there's games that make you cry. There's games that make you super happy. There's games that make you mad, like a Dark Souls, for example. But it's a totally different sort of thing here. This is a story moment. This is characters that you're invested in, and they're putting them through the ringer, and they make you feel things, and like that's unbelievably powerful storytelling.
There is an art to its narrative. There is an art to its creativity and writing and demonstration through cinematics that basically, like you said, trigger those emotions. People were angry at certain plot points put throughout the title. And yeah, there's being angry at the game and Neil Druckmann and his stupid 2020 narrative.
SJW. Fuck off.
But there's also like perfection in a flow, in a narrative flow. And basically, The Last of Us Part 2 has done that to perfection. I believe personally, though, I will say that The Last of Us Part 2 wasn't my game of the year, but it was definitely up there. I feel like...
What's yours, fucking Animal Crossing?
No.
Persona 5 Royal?
Well, you'll find out next week on the Dash Gamer Awards. But basically, I just feel like this year at the Game Awards, there was a lot to be cynical about in terms of the way that everything was kind of presented. And I'm not just talking about like, well, The Last of Us got 20 awards. Okay, fair enough. Do they deserve every single one of those awards? That's subjective in its own right. Like accessibility, yes. Do I agree with like best action adventure? Probably not. I'd say that,
it's because we're in that murky sort of what's an action adventure, what's an action game thing. Like that is a tricky one in of itself.
Yeah. But even so, there were so many other titles that could have even sat in that category. Even though it got Game of the Year, doesn't necessarily mean that was the best action adventure title. This is the other problem I'm having right now with Game Awards, is that awards are getting handed out. You got Game of the Year, but then you got all these categories, these subcategories underneath it. It just kind of gives it away, and this is happening now every year.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm the opposite of you in that regard. Like, if you consider a game, in this case, The Last of Us, to be the game of the year, then it should clean up the best genre award. Now, maybe not necessarily the best sound or the best art or the best story or whatever those sort of things, because you can have things that the sum of their parts is of course a massive thing here.
Yeah,
but its particular genre, that should be an instant win. If you think it's the best game of the year, then it must be better than everything in its own category.
Well, then, if that is the case, then the game of the year should be announced first and should mean less than the rest. And the reason I say that... Well, not mean less, but what I mean is it should be announced first. And the reason I say that is because then afterwards, once you announce Game of the Year and say, Last of Us is Game of the Year, but we've got like 20 other awards, best art direction, best narrative, and all this other stuff, that could go to anybody afterwards.
No, what they need to do at that point is just do what, and this is where like Jeff or at the DICE Awards or any of those sorts of things where they need to be considerate about how they plan out the show.
Yeah.
They know who the winners are at this point.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you see, and this happens at the Academy Awards and all those sorts of things, where the movie of the year or film of the year, what do they call it? What's the category for the best film? Best film. I think that's what it's called. Like that gets announced, and then as the people are walking up to receive their award, they go, and this, and they also won this, and this, and this, and this, and so it's all hidden.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you announce all these kind of like best actor, best actress. I think they've bundled them together these days. Yeah. Actor is a general heading. But best this, best that, like all the sub things, all the periphery things. So in our industry here, or in our medium here, we're talking about best soundtrack. We're talking about best acting. We're talking about best art design. All those things that are one individual component of the full product. You can announce all of those.
Yeah. And
then the stuff that would, as you say, you're 100% right in saying, gives away who the winner is, you bury that in with the Game of the Year announcement.
So do you think, okay, let me put it to you this way then.
There's still things you discover along the way, like if best, game direction, if all of a sudden that gets announced out of nowhere, then you go, okay, it's not that game then. Like it shows the hand as to what game it's not, but that's about it.
What do you think that Game Awards are meaningful these days?
I mean, I'm not big on any form of Game Awards. I mean, let's be real. Most people watch the Game Awards for the reveals. We'll talk about that shortly,
exactly. The trailers.
Yeah, people tune into that for that side of things, and I mean that's a shame because we really do need to celebrate the creators more. This is a guy who hosts a podcast dedicated to the creators. We need to spend more time celebrating the individual's accomplishments. But
there is a way to praise creators and developers and hand them accolades without actually naming them awards. You could even call them accolades if you wanted to. Like I'm holding off on doing, like I was supposed to do Dash Awards tomorrow, but I'm not going to because I'm thinking about reconfiguring the entire setup to, instead of having it as a straight up Game of the Year, soundtrack and all this other stuff, instead just going, okay, here are the top 20 games of 2020. Because I feel like you're basically, you're kind of stifling games and titles out there, basically putting that stamp of approval onto one singular title throughout this year. And it's like, this is The Last of Us, Game of the Year. Everything else, forget about it. When you've got titles like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that honestly is up there alongside The Last of Us Part 2, that deserves the accolade Game of the Year, but it won't get it because you got The Last of Us Part 2. It's basically holding... The Last of Us Part 2 holds that prestige because... I believe so because of its developer and how notorious Naughty Dog are.
Yes.
It kind of gets that rub, you know what I mean?
Are you talking about like the Nintendo bump?
Exactly that. The Nintendo
they do get a little bit of that. I'm not gonna shy from the fact that I have an affinity for Naughty Dog titles.
Oh yeah, so do I.
But you would like to think that any person who reviewed that game earlier in the year, of which we were both. Yep. No, you didn't review it for Dash Gamer, did you?
No, Mike Pullman.
Actually, neither did I. Now that I think about it, I didn't review it either.
No,
that was Matt.
Well,
Houston
we kind of did review for Dash Gamer for our podcast, but yeah.
Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, but it's not a score in the case of
no, not a scored review.
I wasn't the one responsible for submitting the score to like the
Metacritic. Yeah,
submitted to Metacritic. Any of those sorts of things.
Yeah,
that's me dusting my hands of all this right now. So don't
Me too.
direct any shit to me. But like I would consider. I mean, as I've already declared, I think it's the best game of the year, and I wasn't upholding to anything. Like I played it purely as a consumer.
Paul,
unfortunately, would have loved it early, but played it as a consumer.
That's fair. Paul, like you said, there was game announcements this year at the Game Awards, and we're going to quickly go through them. So this year at the Game Awards, there was a bunch like Devolver Digital announces Loop Hero, Chia announced. I'm not sure what that is.
No, that looks cool. This is a really cool one, inspired by New Caledonia. It looks like it's kind of got a Pixar sort of style about it, and then this weird Prey-like gimmick where you can then possess like inanimate objects and take control of them. So like you're running along as this little kid, you jump off, you can see like a Breath of the Wild style.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks very much like a Wind Waker as well.
And then all of a sudden you possess a coconut and just take off. Like,
is everything copying Breath of the Wild these days?
Oh, I mean, there's little bits of it. I mean, to be fair, that's just you're flying through the air like it's a hang glider. That's Far Cry did that before Breath of the Wild did it.
That's true. Yeah.
So like, it's not. No, that's not a Breath of the Wild thing. It popularized it for sure. But yeah, then there's Prey components in it as well, and it'll be a heavily story-based thing. So that looks pretty cool.
Nice. Sea of Solitude coming to Nintendo Switch on March 4th, 2021. Focus Home Interactive reveals Shady Part of Me, featuring dark watercolor graphics and a dreamy, atmospheric Shady Part of Me is now available on PC, Steam, and Epic Games Store, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. There you go. New Replicant had a gameplay reveal. Paul, did you check this one out?
I did check it out. I still haven't finished Automata.
Jesus, come on, Paul.
There's only so much time, my friend.
Also, it's called Automata. How dare you?
All right, my bad.
Near Automata.
How about you just off the top of your tongue give me the version 1 point whatever that we got with this bullshit? Come on.
No.
Get that right, Dash.
No. You stop that. So it's 1.22474487139.
Oh, piss off, you're reading it. .., ellipsis.
Oh man, but look, it looks excellent. I can't wait to play Near Replicant. It's going to be awesome. Age of Ashes revealed. Okay, there you go. A medieval fantasy game called Century Age of Ashes was revealed, showing off gameplay where you ride dragons and engage in PvP combat. It's scheduled to arrive in February 2021.
I was so keen on this until I realized it was PvP. I'm like, this is what Lair could have been, should have been, and then I realized it's multiplayer. I'm like,
some of these must have been announced during the pre-show because I missed quite a few.
This was the last thing from the pre-show because then the next thing, which is Sephiroth announced as a new character for Smash, that's how they kicked off the main show.
Yeah, so
and it's not PlayStation related. But,
no, obviously not. So, but Sephiroth
was a key PlayStation character, I guess.
Yeah, so Sephiroth was announced for Smash Brothers. So anybody who loves their Final Fantasy, there you go.
And it looked like for a moment he killed Mario, and that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was so good. Cinematic trailer for New Perfect Dark was revealed. Funnily enough, ended with an Xbox logo.
Because they own Rare.
Correct.
And their IP.
I can't wait for that, though. Back 4 Blood revealed, which is from the creators of Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
This one looks really good. Any thoughts?
That's some multiplayer shit I'll get into.
Yeah.
I loved the look of Left 4 Dead, and I never got to play it because I didn't have an Xbox at the time, and I wasn't a PC guy. Still not a PC guy because it's for dorks. But I loved what I saw of the game, and I'm really keen on Back 4 Blood.
Hood Outlaws and Legends release date announced, which is May 7th. No.
Keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Hood's cool. And when they first debuted, I think at the PlayStation event, like it looked like a single player game for ages. I'm like, sweet, this looks dope.
Yeah.
And then they said multiplayer. I'm like, fuck off. Get out of here. Don't waste my time.
Scavengers opens closed beta. So that's okay. Whatever. Forza Cross Cyberpunk 2077 crossover. Let's just hope it's not as buggy. The Callisto Protocol announced. This one actually looks really good, Paul.
Yes. I love Dead Space, and it's Glenn Schofield who basically oversaw the 3 games.
Yeah.
He oversaw the 3rd game with EA breathing down his neck. But the first 2, the ones that are actually good and that EA left the studio to actually make themselves. Dead Space is awesome. Yep. It's got all of those vibes. It's got them. I mean, remember how Isaac Clarke had the thing down his spine, the blue light down his spine that showed his health. You're going with a similar sort of thing. There's something on the dude's neck that's kind of clearly meant to be your health indicator. They're like the way they disguise the UI into just what you're seeing in the world was genius.
Yeah, I agree.
And just so incredibly well executed, and it was also just a top tier horror franchise. So I hope that this is awesome.
Warhammer Darktide gameplay revealed. Cool. Open Roads announced. Whatevs.
I mean, that's from Fulbright, so the team that Gone Home and Tacoma. So that's
okay. Fair enough.
That's pedigree.
Disco Elysium Final Cut. That one a lot of people are seeing keen for because it now has a new voiceover track that accompanies the title, which is cool.
Timed exclusive for PlayStation too.
Correct. New look at Dragon Age 4 as well. Endless Dungeon announced. Crimson Desert first gameplay trailer revealed as well. Overcooked gets a new chef, which is the Swedish chef from the Muppets. Stunning indie game season revealed. Call of Duty Black Ops Warzone gets a season 1 trailer. Arc 2 announced. I thought with Vin Diesel.
Generic dude with a Vin Diesel sticky note stuck on his head.
Oh my god, man, that's great.
Though to be fair, at the beginning I was like, oh, is this Horizon 2? Because like the character designs and stuff fit. And then
Vin Diesel.
Then it started to look like shit, and I realized it couldn't be Horizon.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a bold statement, especially given the fact that Ark is quite popular.
Oh, it's popular. Doesn't make it good.
No.
Minecraft's very popular too.
Fall Guys gets a season 3 trailer. God, Max. Max Cooper is flipping his shit from hearing that right now.
Come and get me, Max. Come and get me.
Outriders gets a new trailer. Evil Dead, the game announced. Paul, you haven't seen a season of Evil Dead?
No, I haven't because I got better things to do with my time.
No.
I'm not going to cast any aspersions about the quality of it. I've heard so many good things over the years. It's just one of those. I mean, everyone has some blind spots, and
I'll be clipping this out and sending it to you.
These days in TV and film, I've got a lot of blind spots.
Hope you've enjoyed your time at Player 2, Paul.
Matt already knows about it. He's tried. He can't get rid of me.
Ghosts and Goblins. I'm trying to get through as fast as I can now because there's so many of them. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection announced for the Nintendo Switch. A new look at Returnal. I know you've been keen for that one, Paul.
Yes, because it's basically the old Housemarque style arcade game, but in a third-person shooter as well. Yeah. They've taken their core mechanics, how their games work, and they've brought it to a game that is far more accessible. So I'm really, really hopeful for them here, and I wish I was doing. I mean, we're taking a week off when it comes to the drop. Sorry, not the drop. The pick and the operation this week. But man, I had a good operation queued up if we were doing it this week. So
fair enough. I mean, you can do it if you want. The thing is,
we'll see how we go.
I gotta ask you, what is because there's a massive appeal behind. Like I'm hearing nonstop things about Returnal. What is the appeal? Like, what is the appeal? I'm lost on it. Is what I'm saying.
Housemarque is just like excellent in terms of the mechanics of their games.
Yeah,
they have an outstanding gameplay loop. And then, like I said, this just looks to be pulling what they've done so well in that arcade, more traditional space, obviously with gorgeous visuals and voxels and all that sort of stuff. But they're bringing that across to a third-person shooter. They're making this thing far more accessible. And that's, I think, why I'm so excited about this game, because it is something that I love, and I love their arcade games.
Yeah.
Next Machina being the most recent, or the game that I just really adored from them. But of course, Resogun and the like as well. They're bringing those systems, those ideas, that loop, and they're applying it to a game that will speak to millions more people. And I'm really hopeful for the studio as a result.
So this one is my favorite announcement of the entire awards presentation, which was It Takes Two. From Joseph Fares. Fuck the Oscars.
Fuck the Oscars.
But this one looks really, really good. Obviously, Joseph Fares, who did
A Way Out.
A Way Out.
Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Yep, that's correct. Kind of has lifted the formula from A Way Out and made it
a rom-com.
Yeah, basically a rom-com.
It's a rom-com.
It looks hilarious. It looks funny. It looks adventurous. It looks like a lot of fun.
And it looks gorgeous. You see the bit with the ball pit?
Yes.
Holy shit.
It looks so good. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
We can talk about how good Returnal looks, or how good Cyberpunk would look if it worked, and The Last of Us and all that. But that ball pit is something else.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Super Meat Boy Forever gets a release date, December 23rd, 2020. By the way, Takes Two comes out March 26, 2021. Oddworld Soulstorm coming in spring 2021. I am not excited for that at all. The Elder Scrolls Online Gates of Oblivion announced for January 21st, 2021. New trailer for Monster Hunter Rise and upcoming demo announced for January 2021. Among Us gets a new map. By the way, Among Us is also out for Nintendo Switch today, which is really cool.
Probably bodes well for a console version, like PS4, PS5, Xbox,
version.
Xbox Series X sometime in the future as well.
Most definitely. They're probably just optimizing it right now for that. Master Chief comes to Fortnite. Scarlet Nexus release window announced. Yes! I cannot wait for this title. Give it to me now!
Mechanically looks good. I'm still a little unconvinced because it's WeeBR shit.
Jesus Christ, Paul. Just Cause is coming to mobile. Big whoop. First look at Ruined King, a League of Legends story.
Yes.
Yeah, this looked good, actually.
Because it's got amazing talent on it. This is Airship Syndicate, who's made up a whole bunch of ex-Vigil people. Vigil being the team that worked on Darksiders 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They also made Darksiders Genesis last year. This team has serious chops.
Yeah.
And like they Battle Chasers is the other game that they made in between all the Darksiders stuff. That is a turn-based JRPG style thing. And it was brilliant. A lot of people missed it, but it is brilliant, and I can't wait for this.
And the final trailer, which is, I'll be honest, a little lackluster to be honest. Mass Effect gets a teaser trailer. Big shit. We knew it was coming, and it was like, oh, Mass Effect's coming.
It makes me so mad.
We knew. We knew. Thanks for the heads up. We kind of
makes me so mad that they showed this.
Jesus
it's basically the Elder Scrolls 6 all over again.
Yeah, pretty much. Paul, moving on to the next story. This one comes by way of Reggie over at Persona Central, who says Persona 5 Strikers Western release officially confirmed for February 23rd, 2021. And basically, I'm just going to give you the quick gist because obviously I'm a Persona 5 fanboy. It's coming out in Australia on that date. There are no special editions. I am saddened. Very saddened. The only thing that you get...
Internationally?
No, there are
nothing international. Oh.
There is no special editions. Usually we get like, the big box, the Royal Flush edition or whatever the hell they called it. We're getting nothing here. So I'm actually having to go through PlayAsia and purchase the Japanese version, the boxed version, the limited edition, to, just have one to sit on my shelf because I like those versions. The only thing we get through EB Games this time on pre-order is a Joker pin. Thanks. But regardless, I'm happy that we're actually getting a localized version of the title. We get to, play the title now and understand what's happening, especially for myself, because I played through probably a quarter of Scramble, which is what it's called in
Japan.
East, in Japan. It's great Muso title, a lot of fun. If anything, this is probably going to be the best Muso title I've experienced so far. I just recently played Horror Warriors as well, and really, I liked it. It was great, but it pales into comparison of Persona 5 Strikers, to be completely honest. I feel like the adaptation that they have taken from Persona 5, the base game, and implemented all the facets within a Muso title in Strikers, it legitimately feels like a sequel to Persona 5. It's not just your ordinary Muso adaptation.
Yeah, look, I mean, I obviously don't know Persona all that well. I understand
I
the
own it,
basics,
but I don't
the
play
tone,
it.
that sort of thing. Yeah, I know. But ignoring that side of it for a second, what limited knowledge I have of the franchise, I already know that this. Yeah, to your point, it lends itself very, very well to a Musou-style game.
Correct.
Zelda obviously works very well. Fire Emblem Warriors works very well. So does Dragon Quest when they did that as well. But this, it fits.
Yes.
It just fits contextually a lot better.
Well.
Now, execution is still a whole other thing, and it may end up being a flop for all we know. Hypothetical, we've got to allow for that possibility. Again, no one thought the Cyberpunk's doing what it's currently doing. But it feels like it should be a winner.
Okay, it is. Let me give you a little bit of a spoiler from what I've played of it. As a Persona fan, it's a winner. As a Persona fan, it's a winner.
Yes.
As a Musou fan, might be a little questionable. Maybe because it's not just an ordinary Musou title like a Dragon Warriors, but it does have a lot of it takes a lot of the fun that you get from Persona's. 1, it's overture. 2, it's overlay. 3, it's overall presentation. Everything about Persona 5 that you love is in this game. The only thing that's not is Persona's gameplay. You don't get that dungeon crawling aspect. It's not your typical JRPG. It's a Musou title. You jump in, you hack and slash your way through hordes of enemies. They swat you out of nowhere sometimes. But once you're in battle, it is so gratifying to just defeat them all. It's so good. So
yeah. I mean, that's the Musou formula to an extent, though.
Correct, yeah. The next one comes by way of IGN, Paul. This one comes from Matt Kim over at IGN, and this one's one of my favorite announcements, who says, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game 2021 release date announced. Yes, I can't wait for this. So basically, the gist of it is that the game is being re-released on January 14th, 2021, licensed again by Ubisoft, and indie band Anamanaguchi will be providing the soundtrack once again. So a few years ago, I streamed Scott Pilgrim vs. the World on Twitch, and I kind of begged Anamanaguchi to kind of let Ubisoft, because Ubisoft actually came out and said, it's not our fault, Anamanaguchi.
It's a licensing thing.
Yeah. And then Anamanaguchi tweeted out saying, no, it's not us. Like, we're allowing them to. And then it kind of just went from there, and I was like, okay, what's happening now? Like, are we actually getting the game this gen or next gen, or what's going on? So after a long time of waiting, I believe since like 2012, 2013, since it got pulled from PlayStation Store due to licensing.
Yeah. 2014.
There you go, 2014. So it's been 6 years, dude. 6 years since they've actually made a profit from this title at all. We're getting a re-release. What are your thoughts anyway? Because I know that you like this game.
I mean, it's stories like this that do worry me about the all digital future of games.
Okay, how come?
Because games can just
getting pulled because
like this, like PT. There's just these stories that are going to pop up more and more and more. Hell, even Remedy had issues with like Alan Wake and stuff. For a while there because there was licensed music in it, and so when their license for the music expired, the game was no longer allowed to be sold.
Yeah.
So because there's so many other parties in there. Now, what we ultimately, I think, as an industry are starting to learn is that when developers are making these deals with bands or whatever the case is for licensed music specifically, the contract needs to change. It needs to be something in perpetuity or something like that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which is a tricky one, but maybe there's a royalties component to it now that gets added. Beyond this point, beyond 10 years, you get this much of every dollar or something like that.
I agree.
The Spotify model, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they've already made 99% of their money up front, and that 1% is being drip fed to them over and over. But it means that you don't have to rip the game from the stores.
It would be great. Yeah.
We need to see stuff like that because otherwise, there's just too many games that are going to get lost over the journey.
Well, there's been a lot that have succumbed to that prospect. But yeah, what were we going to say?
Well, like what happens with The Last of Us Part 2 one day? We've got Pearl Jam songs being played in it. Now, admittedly, they're covers. Is that an issue though?
I
guess because it's a cover, it's probably not. But there's big first party titles that we love across multiple different platforms, not just exclusive to PlayStation, that we're going to lose or could be at risk of losing because a music licensing thing.
I doubt that they'll ever lose the license to it because it's a big moneymaker for Sony,
yeah, but-
and Sony will continue to pay for that license, man.
I mean, Alan Wake was a big thing for Remedy, specifically for that one studio.
Yeah, that's Remedy, not Sony.
No, I know it's a scale thing. No, it's a scale thing. I understand that, but these things are still big within their respective companies, and huge deals for their respective companies. So it's as big a deal for Remedy to lose the rights to Alan Wake for a few weeks or months, I think it was,
I agree.
as it would be for Sony to lose the rights to. It's a scale thing at that point.
No, I agree. Page, the final story of the night comes by way of our friend Alex Walker over at Kotaku, who says cash converters are selling PS5 consoles for $1,500 Australian or more. Getting a PS5 is hard enough, as is, and it's not made any easier when companies are selling consoles for twice the price. Cash converters in Australia are offering a staggering discount, quote discount, on PS5 consoles for, wait for it, a staggering $1,500. The price tag was spotted online by me, but it was actually spotted on Press Start's Facebook page.
Yes,
however,
their PS5 page.
However, that was also taken from the Adelaide Buy, Swap and Sell Facebook page. So it's basically been jumping around page to page. I just basically took the pic and tweeted out my concerns to cash converters. So basically what I said was, hey, cash converters, this is beyond disgusting. It's one thing for anonymous scalpers to pull this crap on eBay, but a company that resells stock at these kind of prices is beyond a freaking joke. I'm sure that the ACCC would not appreciate this kind of fleecing. And he goes on and says, it wasn't the worst gouging from cash converters, though. On their website, you can find listings for even higher, like this PS5 that's discounted from $2,200 down to $1,899.
People will pay it. It'll happen.
Well, look, I've been in, like, I'm a member, obviously, of Press Start's PS5 page because I actually entered their competition for the LG TV. But the thing is, seeing people say that they've paid $1,500 for a PlayStation 5 it's disappointing. I know that it disappoints the person that pays, that kind of price, those exorbitant fees that are put onto eBay, these scalpers that purchase 20 units and then resell them to make that kind of profit. It's very much a disappointment that PlayStation haven't kind of made this effort to block. I mean, I know they can't do it. Rightfully, they cannot, because a person who obtains that piece of hardware has the right to sell it whatever fee, whatever cost they want. These are just dicks that are just basically trying to make a buck, and that's what's happening now. But for cashies, a national company, to resell stock at these kind of prices, that is scum. That is scum.
Yeah, it is different for a big retailer who makes thousands, millions of dollars a year on this sort of thing. It's different for them to do it than, look, some douchebag scalpers, or maybe someone who's just, for whatever reason, their circumstances have changed. They just go to sell their PS5 and try and sell it, with markup because they need the money.
Yeah,
it's all very different because this is a bbig retailer. They have stores, brick and mortar stores that you can walk into, and you look at the photo and there's copies of Watch Dogs 2 sitting nearby. There's it's ridiculous, stupid.
So while we've been talking, there was a tweet from Michael Pace, or Paceytron, on Twitter that he sent me that says CEX Australia isn't doing much better either, basically. And they're actually selling units with 24-month contracts and everything else, 825 gig, wide unboxed, $1,300. We buy for cash, $1,400. So we sell for $1,300. We'll buy it from you for $1,048. So they're turning a profit of $200. So they're basically giving money, but they're also adding on top. Once again, it's a scalping system. There's no doubt that cash converters are paying similar prices, but they're also adding way more on top. It's still scummy by CEX to do this as well.
Yes.
So no excuse, to be completely honest.
PlayStation.
All right, Patch, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco, we both got to sit down and experience Night City in the world that is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, obviously, we've already spoken about it.
Done it to death.
Briefly through the episode. But we do have some thoughts that we kind of want to share of our own experiences playing the title thus far. Once again, I'll kick it off with you first. How have you fared with Cyberpunk from also because you've actually gotten to experience it obviously on the PS4 Pro and the PS5. How have your differences varied, and what are your thoughts so far? Your first impressions?
Yeah, we've obviously already spoken about the PS4, my experiences with the PS4 Pro during the news before, so I won't rehash those.
Yeah.
So the difference when I play on the PS5 is it works.
Right.
The game runs. Like that's the big difference. I don't have any chugging. I get through the opening cutscene and there's no issues. Segments like there's one fairly early on where there's a whole bunch of quick cuts between different things that doesn't matter too much. V and one of the core characters, Jackie, kind of shows what they get up to in like a 6-month period. 6 months? Yeah, it was about 6 months. In a 6-month period there, and kind of their friendship galvanizing and all that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff would destroy a PS4 because like there's just too much going on with it.
Yeah.
PS5, no dramas. There's obviously the things we spoke about before where the city is barren, there's not a lot going on, like those disappointing aspects, but the performance, no issue.
Yeah.
And obviously the bugs, that's a factor, but yeah, no issue on a performance side of things. So my time with the game has been fairly brief. Mostly due to life circumstances. I just haven't been able to dedicate the time that I need to. Hell, we had to take a pause of recording, and I walked in here, child on chest for a little while there, saying, "Don't, I'll be back in 5 minutes."
Yeah.
Like that's kind of just how the scenario is at the moment. So it's not, and we're at the pointy end of the work year, so it's not enabled me to put a hell of a lot of time in, like I wanted to. But I've enjoyed what I've played. But it's all the negatives that we spoke about. So the bugs, not that I've really encountered too many. The worst I've seen is, phones being suspended in the air. I've had a pretty good run of it so far over about 4 or 5 hours. I've had no crashes, no bugs of any significance, no weirdness really in any way outside of, phones just being suspended in the air for no apparent reason. But there's just enough going on with it. And I just know that there's so much potential left on the table here that I just don't want to experience it now for a few months.
Yeah.
With the promise of things being better on the consoles in January and then especially in Feb, and God knows what happens after that as well. I'm basically just sitting back going, I think I'm just going to wait.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to sign out of this one for now, and I'll come back. I've got other games that I want to play at the moment. And this is not some slight against the game, because I'm really enjoying what I've played of the game, but I know I could enjoy it more. And so I want that. I'm not reviewing it, so there's no time constraints on me or anything like that. We're having our conversations here. We're having our kind of review update of sorts. Yeah. Review in progress, whatever you want to call it.
It's hard, isn't it?
A check-in. I'm not compelled to push through it because I know I can have a better experience soon. I know what the game is brilliant. They've just got, again, it's these layers wrapped around it that are holding it back. And so I'm happy to wait that out and play other stuff in the meantime and come back to it. And maybe I start it from scratch again. It's only 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I might be pretty rusty on what happened in 2-3 months. That's what COVID's done to this year. It's felt like 16 years. But I'll get back to it when I'm ready.
So I want to put a disclaimer out there. I don't want to discourage anybody from actually picking up the game. If you want to pick up Cyberpunk 2077, do it. But understand that this disclaimer comes with a warning that is a broken mess right now. Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation 5 for me has been substantially subpar. I'll probably put it that way. It's been subpar. I have had a suitable experience with the title so far. It has crashed on me 4 times.
Okay.
I've had texture pop-in is just a given on this thing right now. It doesn't load properly, even given the fact that even when you install the game on the PS5's SSD, you expect the game to load a little faster than what it would on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and it probably does, given the fact that
it's not significant though.
No, and that's the thing. Like I've read articles out there and reviews that have said that there's a fraction, of timely difference between the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PlayStation 5 in terms of loading times and texture popped in and all that. Like it's weird to actually note this, given the fact that now we're on next-gen hardware, that it doesn't advance it in marginally from its intended hardware. It actually doesn't improve on it in a massive scale. Like we're still sitting on next-gen hardware, but we're playing it in last generation presentation performance, and And it's just bothersome. It really is bothersome to actually sit here and berate this game right now. It doesn't deserve it in a way that, like, it deserves it because CD Projekt Red were not honest. They were dishonest in their practices for reviewers when handing out review codes and giving PC codes. We've already covered all this, but basically, to sit here, like, I'm with you on this one, Padge. I've also contacted PR personally myself and told them, look, you're probably not going to see a review from me for at least a couple more weeks. It's out of the norm for me to do that. I usually try and get a review out in 1 to 2 weeks of a video game, given the fact that this is my job and I basically have all the time in the world to sit here and play these games. But
Lucky
it's just,
bastard.
But it's just one of those things where
Time. Oh,
yeah, I know, right? Time.
I remember a time when I had that.
Daddy Padge. But it's one of those things right now where I even said to PR, I really cannot score this game. I really cannot, in good faith, sit here and just throw a number at it for the sake of throwing a number. Because if I was going to throw a number, like I said to Buddy the other night, probably a 4. And I don't know whether this game deserves that. Like, it deserves.
It's not a 4. That's the trick. Like, it's not a 4. The game is brilliant. The other shit around it is horrific.
But that's what makes it a 4.
Yeah, and so, like, in its current state, it is, and the IGN review kind of proves that as well. I mean, not that they are the sole determining factor of the quality of the game, but again, like, it's not like the console Metascore isn't that far from a 4 anyway. Like, it's
they're not setting the bar for anything, but yeah.
It's a deeply flawed title as it currently is, but I don't know. It is this trick about reviewing a game versus reviewing a film versus reviewing music, that they are static things, that they are what they are. They're polished. They're good to go because there's not these other mechanical factors involved, and that's the great difficulty about critiquing video games, is that what you say now could change in a week.
I feel
most likely will change in a week.
I feel like the problem we're in right now is that because we're in a console transition phase, it's easy to make those comparisons. It's easy to turn around and go, well, the PC version is its best. The PlayStation 4 version is at its worst. PS5 sits somewhere in the middle, but still is broken. It's broken everywhere. That's the issue. That's the underlying issue right now with Cyberpunk. It's broken everywhere.
And the thing again is that the PS5 version you speak of, that is just still the PS4 version. It's just got the overhead of the PS5 to help
the power,
push it along. That's all it is. It's not a tailored experience in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It's the PS4 version.
Yeah.
PS5 version will look phenomenal when it comes out. It will be, it won't be the PC version, but it's going to be pretty damn close. In a lot of respects.
Yeah.
Some others it probably won't be, because this is the crisis of the modern day. In terms of how it looks, but it's gonna come close enough. But it's not what an experience on a PS5 is right now. Like that's the really difficult thing about the conversation we're having.
Yeah,
the game.
So without spoiling any of the main story, Betson, the story is actually fantastic. Like, it is really a solid campaign narrative. It really does have great pacing within it. Like, again, though, with the gameplay looping as it is, as broken as it is right now, it just kind of it interrupts its flow. There's a presentation there that they want to perfect, and believing right now that the game could be delivered, in a certain way that would necessarily deliver CD Projekt Red's vision. It's hard to actually kind of see that right now, especially given the fact that a lot of PC gamers have their hands on it and a complaint. Like, I watched Andy Cortez the other day on Twitch, crashed on him twice.
Nitro rifle.
Yeah, it crashed on him twice.
It's not good.
He booted the game back up. He got it off GOG, by the way, GOG.com. And basically, when it crashed on him the first time, he booted the game back up. Now, he's running pretty solid hardware at the moment. Obviously,
he's got the 3080. He's got all the top end stuff.
He booted back into the game, and it was running almost as bad as the PlayStation 4 version. It chugged. The graphics looked terrible on it. And he was like, "What the hell's going on?" And he checked his settings, and his settings had reset on him to go back all to low, and he set it to ultra again. And then it crashed again on him, and he was like, okay, something's wrong here. I can't play the game at Ultra now. the computer will not let me. So there's another problem that PC games are obviously fronted
Turbo
with,
tax
you know?
and all that shit. No. We won't make it about the PC dorks and
No. But what I'm
yeah.
trying to say is it doesn't matter how you spin it, whether it's on PC, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, Xbox One X. It's having problems everywhere. It's not clean enough. Even for us to sit here and talk about the game,
No, the craziest thing, and there's one platform that's available on that you didn't mention.
Nintendo
Switch. No. I said that's actually out on. The craziest thing is that apparently the Stadia version is the best performing version of the game at the moment.
No
I don't mean
way.
critically, but it actually is running better than anything else.
No way.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of reports about that now.
How
And I guess
ironic.
it's because it's not constrained by the
hardware.
the PC that we've got here. It's all like it's on Google and they're
on the
totally
cloud.
set. So then they're just streaming that shit to you.
God damn.
Apparently that's the best of the
How
lot.
ironic is this? So to play the best version, you got to pay a subscription fee with Google Stadia.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
So maybe we'll get it on xCloud or PlayStation Now or something.
Well, that's the thing. Like right now, it's just a case that we're now in a waiting phase. How do reviewers like you and I, just say that you were reviewing the title poll, how would you even approach this? Like I'm at a crossroads right now of how do I even approach this review, because I've got a schedule. Like I schedule my reviews, and because I basically told like PR, I said, look, you're probably going to get it New Year's Day, and that's where I've put it. I put it on my calendar, Cyberpunk 2077 written review New Year's Day, but I don't even know if I'm ready to review it on New Year's Day.
I mean, only you can know that. You will have your experience, and I will not because I'm waiting.
Yeah.
But like it's
a hard
I
one.
mean, it's a tricky one. Like you'll play through the game in its entirety because that's what a reviewer does.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, it can be and I've said it so many times through this episode. It is from all reports a brilliant game. The core of this thing is perfect, and then it's the layer here and the layer here and the layer here that is causing so many issues for it.
But
that's so hard to pick apart because even between now and New Year's, there's likely to be one patch.
Yeah.
And maybe for you, maybe just specifically in your case here versus if you were comparing to me, maybe that fixes all the little issues you were having. But for some reason, I keep running into the same bugs. And that's the crazy thing about video games is that
you can run it on the same hardware, but it's not going to be the same experience.
And experiences vary because you might walk one pace further to the left than I, and that interacts with something different, and it all falls apart like it's fucking stupid. That's games.
The disparity between it all solely lies on the hardware right now that you're playing it on, and is the problem. So like for reviewers out there that review this title, it basically I'd have to clarify on my review when it goes live, PlayStation 4 version played on PlayStation 5. And then there are other people who are like, okay, I played it on PlayStation 4, it was crap, but played it on PlayStation 4 Pro, it was okay, but played it on PlayStation 5 and it ran a lot better. So there are these things now, right? Like, if this is what future releases look like, I'm kind of worried. But
No, it won't be.
I know. But obviously, there are a lot.
Most people put out functioning games.
Exactly, precisely. But my concern solely lies, obviously, with open world games such as like from CD Projekt Red mainly, because now like there is the potential of a Witcher 4 in the future. I know, Paul, you're excited about that because we just spoke about it. But the fact is,
it's still a big question mark.
Well, this puts me at a state of panic for what may come from CD Projekt Red in the future. Like, can we trust them after Cyberpunk 2077?
Yes.
Why?
But because they're like...
What, because they've been reprimanded by fans?
No. So, to an extent, yes. Like, but part of a larger point. Like, this is a company that is very responsive to feedback. Even when they've done, like, even if they don't respond well, let's say use the transphobe sort of stuff that they're like, but they're always on the front foot and they're always looking to respond to things. And they might do things incorrectly, as they did with the transphobe stuff, for example.
Yeah.
But they're always looking to get out there. And if there's one takeaway that they're going to get from this is we need to invest more in QA. The whole QA cert process. We need to make sure that is down because The Witcher 3, as much as I think it's the best game of the generation, it's at launch, it was nowhere near Cyberpunk levels.
No.
But there were still some bugs. There was still some, and again, part of it's stuff that you get with open world games. Like there's so much to squash, and it's so hard to find everything. But they were still present, and then Cyberpunk's even worse, 10 times worse. And I think if there's one thing they're going to take from this is we can't, like, our games are brilliant. We know that. We trust ourselves, but we cannot allow this to be an issue ever again.
Yeah.
And so when The Witcher 4 or
whatever it may be,
Cyberpunk 2 or even just the DLC for Cyberpunk rolls along, it's not going to be perfect because, again, they're open world games.
Yeah.
There's always a degree of this stuff, and
for sure.
Nintendo really is the only company that puts out squeaky clean games, and even then,
but polish is
Metroid
what we're
Other
asking
M,
for.
Metroid Other M still an example.
Fucking hell.
But so like they're still not immune to it either.
Yeah.
It happens to everyone, games big or small. Like that's the nature of the beast. But you will not have this issue again with them.
Okay, so let's actually talk about the game a little bit. So how far into it are you?
Like 3-4 hours.
Okay, so what have you thought so far of Night City? What have you thought about its characters that you've confronted so far? Like, what have you thought about the narrative? What have you thought about it?
I like Night City. I like the characters I've dealt with. So again, we spoke about Jackie,
V.
and V, and there's some others that I've come across so far.
Yeah.
There's I've done the brain dancing.
Oh boy,
yeah, that's a whole topic in of itself that we didn't do in the news.
We'll do that in the new year.
And I thankfully didn't have any problems with that. I didn't discover that I was epileptic in the process, which
fantastic.
Was nice. I've never had. I was even anxious actually going to because all the
the flashing
the buzz
lights,
around. I'm like, okay, so I've never had an epileptic fit, but that's not to say that I just haven't been exposed to the scenario. Like, so I had headphones on. I'm sitting at work at the time. No one else was in the room. I'm like, is someone going to walk into the room right now and find me just sprawled out on the ground? And they go, "What, was the game too hard for you, mate?" Because they won't have a clue what was going on. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to get to the other side of that one, but like. I've experimented with some of the core pillars of the game and the skill trees and all that, and it's all great. Like I love all of it. And I'm not the biggest future like sci-fi RPG guy. I am more of a Witcher and Skyrim like fantasy style thing than I am sci-fi in my RPGs.
Yeah,
there's exceptions, Mass Effect for example. But for the most part, this is not something that should be 100% up my alley.
Yeah,
I'm most of the way there, but it's not 100% up my alley. And yet I'm loving all of it.
Fantastic.
It's the other shit around it that's the issue.
Yeah. So I'm enamored by Night City. I think its aesthetic itself speaks to me in volumes. I'm all about that purple red and all that kind of stuff. Like I love my cyberpunk aesthetic in anything and everything. I loved that title that we had earlier this year, Ghost Runner, because I had that cyberpunk aesthetic applied to it. I love the Blade Runner films as well. It has that cyberpunk aesthetic. Everything, it speaks to me. I love it. Now, its narrative has been interesting to follow. I chose a female V. What kind of what did you pick?
Yeah, I mean, I was male and I tried to create someone that kind of sort of looked like me, but which became interesting when it came to the genitals part. Do I embellish? Do I not?
I did embellish. I gave my V was a trans female with a big donga. So
yeah, righto. But like I mean that side of the part, like I tried to create someone that looked the part.
Yeah.
As much as you possibly can with any character creating thing.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of any game. I try and create myself as best as I can.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to role play at the end of the day to an extent.
Correct, exactly.
But I've already bloody forgotten the core question.
Anyway, so look,
I like being a part of that city as a result. Yeah,
same here. The interactivity between you and its central characters fundamentally changes throughout. I've noticed fundamentally changes with its the gender as well. Some of the interactivity that you have, obviously, with there is some form of not necessarily catcalling, but there's an attractiveness put out there when you pick a female. There's a bit of a brunt put forward when you pick male in terms of who you're confronting or who you're having a conversation with. I really find that to be cool. I think that's awesome. The way that you interact also with some bad folk, essentially enemies, some foes throughout the city, and the way they interact with you, like within the opening moments of being confronted by I can't remember his name now. Basically it comes up. You're in the limo and you roll up to one of them and he tells you to pull over with Padre in the car and you roll down the window. I can't remember, but he basically turns around and says, "I don't fucking know you," and all this other stuff. And I thought that was sick because you could choose to confront them.
Yeah, because then I turn around like, "I don't fucking know you,"
and then
you know,
shit here.
Yeah.
The
back and forth, that was good.
Yeah, that was great. So there's small interactivity that happens there that actually almost carves your own path, like it forges your own path in this story, which is great. So there are going to be moments like that can basically create or basically elevate your attitude and create your own personality, your own character.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is fantastic. I am not as enamored with its narrative as I thought I would be so far. I'm about where you are, 3 to 4 hours in.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I haven't had that much of a chance, man. I've been playing this as well, so you got to forgive me. So it's like it's one of those things right now where I'm at a certain point of the game where I've just passed the brain dance as well. Made that through that unscathed, obviously. But I live. But it's one of those things where right now, the story hasn't really had its clutch moment. It's moment where, okay, I'm invested. Give it to me. But it's also been broken up once again by those problems, those buggy messes. So it really is, there's promise. There is a promise that you are going to get a solid game here. But right now, as it stands, Cyberpunk 2077 is too much of a buggy mess to actually appreciate what it's worth. I think that's a great way to summarize it, yeah?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, Padge, it's time for the drop or whatever is left of the drop for the year. So bring it home, Padge.
I mean, there's jack shit. Like it's just
games.
it's that time of the year. Yeah. There's games rolling. I mean, actually, technically, the dates for those were the 14th and 15th, so they were earlier this week.
Yeah.
My Hidden Things PS4, Bridge Constructor: The Walking Dead for PS5, which is probably the highest profile game of the week. Folia, Dear Father.
Whoa.
What the fuck is Freddy Spaghetti on PS5 and PS4? Of course, there's a game by Paugi, Round Out by Paugi, and Shakedown Hawaii, which I feel like I've actually heard a little bit about that over the journey.
Yeah, same, but I'm not sure.
That's coming to PS5. So across the 14th and 15th. So they're out now, basically.
Fantastic.
It's just a damn shame that Super Meat Boy Forever is not coming out next week for PlayStation. It's only on the Switch. Fuck.
It'll come soon, don't worry.
Soon enough.
Guys, if you didn't know, this has been Operation PlayStation for 2020. DashGamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation has to offer, including next-gen gaming. You can follow Mr. Paul James on Twitter at PaulJamesGames. You can follow myself on Twitter at DashGamer. Don't forget to follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings, which they will surely help us out. Also, leave a review on iTunes if you can. And also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com. Give us a like, leave us a follow, and all those other jazz and blah 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 blah.
Like, share, subscribe.
I've lost track, but I want to say thank you to everybody who's tuned in throughout the year. Thank you to everybody who's listened as well. Thank you to all our guests that have come on, especially Betson and Max from For the Players over at Popsy. And also a big thank you to Paul as well for agreeing to do this show with me this year. It's been fantastic to,
My shoulders have gotten a bit sore carrying you all this time, but that's all right.
Great. I look forward to returning in 2021 with you, Paul, and keep the ball rolling in terms of PlayStation coverage. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, definitely, man. Make sure that you come back on January 13th, 2021, as myself and Paul will basically keep going and bringing the latest and greatest PlayStation has to offer. But until then, this operation is complete.
out-gamer.com.